Hi, it's Eleanor Pryor with the Kindle virtual event that we're holding at this time, and I have with me right now Kristen Eckstein, the ultimate book coach, and she is a sought-after independent publishing expert, two-time best-selling author, and award-winning international speaker. Her reputation is to create books that bring you business through ghost publishing, a term she coined to define her exclusive done-for-you independent publishing program. I Am Published. She has been in the publishing industry since 2003. She's run a traditional publishing company, Vanity Publishing House, and started her own independent publishing house with a traditional arm. I'd like to introduce and welcome Kristen Eckstein.
Hello, Eleanor. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you. I have 3 questions before I hand over the presentation to ask you. And the first question is, for would-be Kindle authors, which question, in your opinion, would be the one that they would benefit most from asking someone like you?
Oh, wow. That's deep. Well, my expertise actually lies more in the print arena, while I do a lot with Kindle. So a question I get all the time is, how do you turn your ebook into print format? Because with nonfiction especially, that's still something that people want.
Perfect. Okay, and then my next question would be is, what is your perspective and strategy for success with Kindle or print?
Multifaceted. My biggest tip of like a strategy is to have a strategy. I mean, you can have a whole lot of tactics in place, but without a strategy, a strategic plan of what's going to happen when, it's like shooting in the dark. Nothing actually happens. So that's what I do is with my own stuff, I have a strategic plan in place for every book that I publish, everything I do on Kindle, and it's not just to throw Kindle books up and hope that they sell, because they won't without a plan.
And then my last question before we proceed with the presentation would be, what networking resources did you cultivate to achieve success with your book publishing, either with Kindle or printing?
You were breaking up, so I missed the first part of that.
Oh, that's okay. So what networking resources did you cultivate to achieve success?
Networking resources, 2 things: social media, Facebook in particular, and live events where my target audience hangs out. So you won't find me at author conferences because my target audience are not authors, they're entrepreneurs. So I go to business conferences. Those are the 2 places I do most of my networking.
Okay, great. I found one of the other speakers that I spoke to the other day was saying that offline events actually helped her a lot too in networking for her publishing business. Great. Okay, so I'm excited to hear your presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and let you take it away and let you get prepared with the screen share, and we'll go from there.
Okie dokie. All right, we're going to share this one. And we're off. Can you see that?
Yes, we're ready. And
perfect. So what I'd like to talk to you today about is how to choose a publishing option that best fits your goals. If you don't know what your goals are, then the option that you choose may make or break you in the long run. So having those goals in place right away is really important. And that way you know where you're headed, you know how you're going to get there, and you're not shocked and surprised. So for example, I had a call today with a prospect, someone who's not my client yet. She's already in process with another system to get her book published, and she's not happy with the results. And her goals are to brand her book to her business and use it as a marketing tool. Well, that's my goals with my clients' books as well, because that's my specialty. That's what we do. And the method of publishing she was choosing, which is with a very well-known vanity print-on-demand printer, they do not have the highest level of quality, so they're not exactly what she wants. And the customer service is it's not bad, it's just not real good. So if she had known what her goals were up front, she probably would have saved herself about $2,000 to $3,000 by now on making poor choices. because she just didn't know which choices to choose. So today, I want to keep you in line so that you aren't making choices that are not going to reach your end goals. So we're going to define exactly what your goals are and where you could do publishing. So first of all, this is me. Woohoo! Hi. I have a big mouth. Love to speak, and I've got several books under my belt. And this is just some stats. 3-time best-selling author. I've started over 50 publishing companies and published almost, as of today, 170 books and ebooks. That's a lot of books. And I just recently started doing the Author's Quick Guide series, which is a series of Kindle books specifically. They're only on Kindle. And I'm writing and publishing one a week through the end of 2013. And I started this the last weekend in August. So that's a lot of books to write and publish. And of course, the most important thing on this list is that I am a certified, bona fide. If there's a card-carrying membership for this, I am a chocoholic. So today we are going to define your goals for your book. What do you hope to achieve with your book? And we're going to match a publishing option to your book goals and then give you the exact steps to get your book into print and on Kindle. First of all, what are your goals? And I just want to make sure that you can still hear me, Eleanor.
Yes, I can still hear you. I'm just muted,
Okay.
so it'll take me a second or two because I don't want any.
Okay, that's why it's so quiet.
Yes,
Got
I
it.
want to
Make
be
sure I'm not disconnected. Before we jump into the content, I just want to make sure that so that everybody can, get this content and they're not like, where did she go?
Oh yes,
All right.
totally.
So what are your goals? These are some examples of goals you might have for your book as a promotional tool for your business, something to sell at the back of the room when you're speaking, just a way to tell your story and share encouragement to others, a bucket list item. I actually have a bucket with bucket list items written on the outside of it, and maybe writing a book is on yours. Wider distribution than what you can get just with Amazon.com. And bookstores, having an actual physical copy of your book in bookstores, and people are just plain asking you to write a book, so that's why you're going to write one. No other real reason. You probably have a combination of all these reasons. And as you start to think about them and all the things that you want to do with your book, you're probably just getting started into the writing process, or you're looking at formatting for Kindle, and you probably feel like the lady on the left. And what I want to do is to take you from going from this to this. Super excited. Yay, I'm published. That's what we want. So the publishing options that you have, there are several. And these work for either print or ebook format. They work for both. So publishing options, traditional. It's the first I'm going to start with. Traditional publishing is where you get an advance and you get an ego boost because you're with a big name publisher. There are a few cons, which is control over your project. Especially if you're writing fiction, you can forget your storyline, plot, and everything because they're just going to write it for you. The expensive marketing, and I say expensive marketing because traditional publishers are hurting. They do not market brand new, unproven authors anymore. They will market people who have a very substantial platform or have been published before and have proven that they can sell books. But if this is your first one and you're only on Kindle format or only ebook, then you're going to have to pay for your own marketing. And the timeline for a traditional print book is 3 to 5 years. As of right now, I don't really know any traditional authors that are strictly ebook format, although McGraw-Hill is aiming to be 100% ebook format for all their textbooks within the next couple of years. So that's pretty huge that a major traditional publisher is moving to completely e-format. There's also a vanity option or a self-publishing option called Vanity, and I call it Vanity Self because there's self-publishing that's real self, in other words, your self, and there's self-publishing with Vanity, which is another company. Vanity Publishing pros are it's a lot faster. I mean, we're talking like 3 months versus 3 to 5 years. It's very inexpensive with print-on-demand technology and with Amazon Direct to Kindle. And it's just, I mean, I only listed 2 pros here, but the fact of the matter is you have control over your product. You can make the decisions as to what you want it to look like. With the cons, though, the quality that you get in editing, design, layout, and printing is not really all that great. It's subpar with most vanity publishers because they are not in this so that you make money off of your book. They are in the business so that they make money off of you. So that's the big difference. They also do not have any marketing. So, you have to do that anyway. The only issue with the marketing with using vanity self-publishers, you're going to have to do your marketing no matter what you choose. However, with vanity self-publishers, a lot of those marketing doors are shut. So if you have a print book and you want to get into bookstores and be on a shelf or have a book signing at Barnes & Noble, you can forget it because Barnes & Noble has what's called a red flag list, and all vanity publishers are on that red flag list. The only way you can use a vanity publisher or even a print-on-demand printer like CreateSpace, which I consider a hybrid. They're part vanity publisher, part printer. The only way you can get into a Barnes & Noble is if your name is along the same lines as Guy Kawasaki. His is the only self-published vanity book I've ever seen in Barnes & Noble, and well, he's got the name, so of course they're going to have him. So I consider vanity publishing an easy button, and an easy button means it's easy. It's super easy. However, because it's easy, your reputation with any company you choose, when that company's name goes on your book, your reputation is tied to all the other people who hit that easy button who don't know what they're doing, because that publisher has a reputation. So think about that when you're thinking about your goals with maybe credibility or as a high-end tool to raise your rates for coaching, consulting, for your business. Then we have what's called indie self-publishing. Indie self-publishing is similar to vanity, where you still have an investment because it's still self-publishing. However, indie self-publishing literally means indie, independent, just you. That's all it means. It doesn't mean that you have another company's name on your book. It's your name on your book. So it's got a lot of pros to it because you really do have complete control. It's just as fast as vanity most of the time. Sometimes it's even faster depending on the team that you choose to help you, if you choose to hire professionals. It's inexpensive with print on demand and with something like Amazon Direct to Kindle or even expanded ebook formatting or ebook distribution like iBookstore, Nook, and all those other places. You have control over the quality. So its quality is usually higher than most vanity publishers. And I say usually because I've seen some pretty bad indie published books as well. With indie publishing, however, you can choose to hire a professional editor versus someone who just graduated high school or college. You can choose to hire someone with experience, a book designer instead of just a graphic designer who thinks they know how to lay out the interior of a book. I can't tell you how many files we've had to fix because people hire graphic designers and not book designers. You get control over your team and control over what level of quality you want, which is great for authors, so we don't have to give up control anymore. You also have more marketing and distribution available to you than any other form of self-publishing, like vanity publishing, unless, you have access to the same portals that the big traditional publishers use, is what I'm trying to say. So it depends on if you know what you're doing or if you hire a coach that knows what they're doing, you can hit the magic button that actually gets your book in distribution for mainstream bookstores like Barnes & Noble. So this means you're not limited to online sales. You can do a lot of offline sales and offline marketing as well. You get to keep 100% of the profits. Vanity publishers will tell you you get to set the retail price on your book. They'll tell you how much that retail price can be. They'll give you a range. That's not a bad thing. What's bad is that range is usually on the high end because they are pocketing $3 to $4 per copy that you sell. So, for example, I had someone else I was talking to who had her book with a vanity publisher, very well-known vanity publisher. Let's just say her book was $10. She got 65% off any copies that she ordered from the publisher. That's great. 65% off. Now, I know for a fact this particular vanity publisher uses the same printer that I use. So the print quality on their books is actually very good because I don't use crappy printers. So they would, sell her book for $10. She'd get 65% off, and actually her book was more like $20. So let me do some math here because my brain is a little bit fried on this. So this means that she's getting $13 off, which means she was spending $7 per copy on her book to order copies for herself. Now, you might say, that's fine. She's getting 65% off her books. That's awesome. She can resell them. She can make $13 a copy profit. That's great. However, let's do the real math. On this particular $20 book, of which she's paid $7 a copy, I looked up the actual print cost for her, and the actual print cost was $3.50. $3.50. So they're making 50% above and beyond the print cost. And what does that cover? That covers their time to go into the system, place an order, and drop ship it to her, which literally takes less than 3 or 4 minutes. If you know how the system works, if you're not in training, it only takes a couple of minutes. So they're getting paid per book. Let's say that she ordered 100 copies. They would make $350 right off the top. That's $350 she could have saved if she had gone with indie publishing. So even these vanity publishers who have cheaper packages than a place that would, getting team members of your own, finding an editor, a designer, and getting set up with a proper print-on-demand printer, you can save a buttload of money later on. I mean, just tons of money depending on how many books you're going to go through, especially if, like I mentioned before, your goal is to have something for the back of the room, a promotional tool for your business. So think about that before you choose which form of self-publishing you want if you want to expand into the self-publishing arena. So 100% profits, that's cool. There's no markup. And the best thing is there's no middleman. So you get to work directly with the printer and distributor, directly with your team. You don't have to be shoved around to different customer service places waiting for an answer for something. You get much faster answers working with your own team. And of course, as with everything, there are some cons. And actually, I am going to mention this. Yeah, the easy buttons con. First of all, there is an upfront investment. So I'm going to start at the top. The upfront investment, when you hire a professional team versus hiring a vanity publisher that hires people with very little to no experience because they're working for minimum wage, you're going to have higher quality. So you can control that. You can hire someone who doesn't have much experience and spend very little out of pocket, or you can hire someone who has a lot of experience and knows what they're doing and get quality results with more of an upfront investment. With that said, you have total responsibility. You are responsible for the team that you choose to work with. You are responsible at the end of the day. If you hire a team and they drop the ball, don't expect the next one to work for free to clean up the mess. That's just the way it works. In publishing, you need to do your homework before you choose who you're going to work with, because you want that, that responsibility, the buck stops with you. So you can't just pass the blame off to someone else. And beware of easy buttons, because even with indie publishing, and a lot of vanity publishers will call themselves indie, by the way, but remember what indie stands for. It stands for the word independent. So that's completely different than hiring another company and having their name go on your book. Independent means just you. So if there are a lot of easy buttons out there for people who do independent publishing as well, and will, when you put it under your own name and do all the registrations yourself. So be aware of if it's really too easy and all you have to do is send a Microsoft Word document to a printer and hit upload, and then suddenly they send you a printed copy. That's an easy button. That's a red flag. Because to have a properly formatted book that looks good, that isn't going to turn off readers or make them dizzy when they're trying to read your book, you need to have it properly formatted. That's one form of an easy button. Now let's talk about the steps to create a print book, and then we're going to get into the actual steps to create an ebook. So these are the basic steps. Write it, edit, design and layout, indie registrations, that's if you're independently publishing, you have some registrations to take care of, and marketing and promotion. So let's dive into each step. Step 1, write it. This is how I write. I write a crappy first draft. Yay! It's done. I call it vomit on paper. You literally just throw up your words on the screen or on paper. Then the hard work begins. Then I read what I've written. So you want to read what you wrote, and during the reading process, you're going to revise. You know, there's going to be a lot of things that are like, what did I mean? I really don't understand that. So you're going to clarify and revise your writing. You're going to update things. If you wrote something like 3 months ago, make sure that it's still up to date, especially if you have websites that are, you know, you're talking about different tools and programs or websites that are still out there or not out there anymore. You want to make sure those websites are still available. And change all the URLs in your book. This is all the website addresses, so anything that starts with http://www. So any of those, change them to what we call pretty URLs. Pretty URLs are, you can make them super easy with the Pretty Link plugin, which is free for WordPress. So if you have a WordPress blog and you have your own domain name, so like I have ultimatebookcoach.com, I have kristenrecommends.com, I know Eleanor has eleanorloves.com, and you want to use what's called a pretty link. So a pretty link is where you take that big long URL of something that you're referring to in your book and put it into the Pretty Links plugin and change it to something like, you know, eleanorloves.com/Kristen, which is actually a real link, by the way. So you can go to eleanorloves.com/Kristen and you'll get the big icky link eventually. You know, you actually get transferred to that website that you don't have to write in all those numbers and characters and stuff. It makes it easier to read. So it's a lot easier to read in print, and also you want to use this for ebooks, so we'll cover that too. QR codes are fun. QR codes, they're still in existence, they're still popular, and I don't think they've really died off. Something that's really cool to use QR codes for is resources. So if you have a bunch of resources in your book, take your pretty link and make a QR code for it. And then anytime if a website goes down or you need to redirect it somewhere else, the QR code and the pretty link will redirect and you don't have to update your book. That's great for print especially. And also insert pictures. Pictures are awesome as long as you have the rights to use them, so they're either public domain or fair use, or you took them yourself. You want to have images, graphics, tables. All those kinds of things are great enhancements for especially nonfiction books. And for printed books, you want to think about having them in black and white. For ebooks, though, you can do them in color because the Kindle Fire and the iPad and the Color Nook all show those books in full color. So step 2 is edit. Whew, we thought the writing part was hard, right? Well, step 2 is taking the editing a little further to just reading and revising. Editing is, there's 2 different types of editing. There's copy editing and developmental editing. Copy editing is like spelling, grammar, and punctuation. So if you can see that picture on your screen, the right-hand side where there's just a few things crossed out, that would be copy editing. The left-hand side where you have lines and a whole bunch of text written, that's more developmental editing. Developmental editing is rearranging sentence structure. It's more than just punctuation. Sometimes it gets into changing the author's voice a little bit, depending on who you work with. If you work with a traditional publisher, that's why a lot of times you'll hear a celebrity talk and you've read their book and you're like, that is so not them. Doesn't sound like them at all. And that's because they had it developmentally edited and probably ghostwritten to begin with, and the developmental editing has rearranged their voice. So it doesn't sound like them so much. Developmental editing, however, does have an amazing place for big, really good books that you just want to set yourself apart from the pack. That's when developmental editing is good to have. And then you can hire, or not hire, but ask friends and family. You know, that's the first course of action with editing. Have friends and family who are going to be honest with you and give you good, honest, constructive feedback, and have them read it first. Then you can hire a proofreader. And most of all, hire a professional. At some point, you want a professional to edit your manuscript, because there's just nothing like it. I mean, you can't replace a professional, especially when it comes to books. Really quick side note here, editors use the Chicago Manual of Style for books, and proofreaders may use that. Your friends and family probably don't even know what that is. And if they saw the Chicago Manual of Style, which is a book about 3.5 inches thick, they would say, no, not going to do that. The Chicago Manual of Style is the standard for traditionally published books. So if you want to reach that level of quality, then you need to hire a pro that uses the Chicago Manual of Style. So step 3 is design and layout. For design, you have 2 different facets. You have cover design and interior layout. For your cover designer, look at their portfolio and then give them ideas of what you like and what you don't like. It's really, really, really important when you're working with a professional designer to know what you want. If you don't know what you want, you cannot expect the designer to read your mind. And designers will usually have a package price, and they'll include so many revisions, and if you go beyond that, you're going to be paying them by the hour for your design. That's just the way it works, because they can't read your mind. You can't blame them for not knowing what's in your head. So by sharing with them your likes and your dislikes and finding a portfolio of a designer whose work you like, you will be able to create a win-win relationship where they will love you and you will love them, and they'll create something phenomenal for you. Now with interior layout, professional interior layout, not Microsoft Word like we talked about earlier, professional interior layout is really important for branding. If you're using your book to market your business, then you want it to be branded inside and out. And what's really cool is if you have it professionally laid out in print format, that can translate over to Kindle, which is awesome because then they look seamless. It won't just look like a Word document thrown up on Kindle. It will look like a real book, which is very, very nice for the reader experience. And also with branding, and this isn't under cover design, but it should be there as well, with these particular books that I'm showing you, these 3, these are all branded to the author's websites or to the series. In fact, it's to both. The series has branding with it, with the way it's laid out and the way the colors work together and the style of the illustrations. And then the, sorry, I just heard something go boom in my house. Not sure what that was. It's probably something in the kitchen. Anyway, this is real, folks. So the other thing about branding is the colors to your website. So like the one about making money speaking and the manage the stuff that sucks up your time, those 2 books are written by professional speakers who have websites. And one is actually a coach. Actually, they're both coaches. And they have websites that have those colors on them. So whenever possible, if you want to use your book to enhance your business, make your book cover and your interior even match the branding of you and your website. And that way it'll feel like a seamless extension of you and people are reading it. Step 4. If you are going indie, this means starting your own publishing company under your own name, whether you're doing print or ebook, by the way. But if you're going indie, you have a few registrations. These are the registrations specifically for print. You need an ISBN, and for that you need a company name. An ISBN is the International Standard Book Number. It's put out by Bowker. And there's something kind of going around the internet where people are like, hey, I have an extra ISBN, you can have it. Or if you buy my product, I'll give you one of my ISBNs for free. Red flag, that's against the law. So please only get your ISBNs from certified retailers or resellers, of which there's less than a dozen. I think there's only like 6 or 7 of them in existence, 6 or 7 companies in the United States anyway that can resell ISBNs. If you're outside the US, you need to get your ISBNs from your local government. So you'll need to do a Google search for ISBN in your municipality or your wherever you're at, your country. And then you'll probably be able to figure out where to get your ISBNs. They don't make it all that easy, but you can find help for that. So please stay away from resellers or people are giving them away who think that they can do that, because they can't, and oftentimes they just don't know any better. Then you need to register yourself, your company, with a printer, and there are 2 primary print-on-demand printers. Lightning Source is, I call it LSI, so Lightning Source Inc. for short, and CreateSpace. Lightning Source is owned by Ingram Content Group. It is the number one, the oldest print-on-demand printer. In fact, I think they hold the patent to the technology. And they, at least to their technology, which is the highest quality I've ever seen in the industry. And they are just a fantastic resource to work with. Then you have CreateSpace, which will limit you just to Amazon. It's owned by Amazon. Easy way to get up on Amazon, but here's the secret. With Lightning Source, it's actually cheaper to use in the long run. If you're planning on ordering more than 50 books ever, Lightning Source is cheaper. The quality is a little better, and you get worldwide distribution, not just Amazon. So you still get on Amazon. And I want to dispel that myth too, because there's a lot of people who think that you have to use CreateSpace to get on Amazon, and you don't. CreateSpace is what I call an easy button. It can be a good easy button depending on what your goals are for your book. If you just want to cross that bucket list item off, or you were told, hey, you really should write a book someday, and that's the only reason you wrote it is because people told you to. They're like, you want to share your story, and that's it. CreateSpace is a fantastic option for that. It's low cost for startup because you don't need to buy ISBNs. You can get one from them. And actually, they are an authorized reseller as well. They're one of the, half a dozen to a dozen resellers. So you can also buy one from them and register it in your own name, which is a good thing. So keep that in mind with your goals. Do you want to go farther? Do you want to have your book on bookstore shelves? Then look at the printer Lightning Source. If you want to just have something on Amazon, just get something out quick, then look at CreateSpace. And then here's a few other registrations that you're going to need. You're going to need to be set up with a distributor if you want to have your book in bookstores. Again, we're coming back to that goals thing. If you want to have your book in bookstores on the shelves, then these are the two distributors, the main ones that you should be listed with. Ingram Book Group, which actually just changed their name to Content Group, and Baker & Taylor. Baker & Taylor services mostly libraries and independent bookstores, and Ingram services all the mainstream and independent bookstores. The U.S. Library of Congress, if you're in the U.S., you'll want to look at getting a Library of Congress control number, which is the self-publishing version of the Library of Congress cataloging and publication number. You're not eligible for CIP. Anyone who tells you that you're eligible for CIP and you're self-publishing, you're not eligible. You have to traditionally publish 3 other authors besides yourself in order to be eligible for CIP data. So just another little tip in there. And then, of course, U.S. copyright, which is optional. It's always recommended. It's fun to get that certificate in the mail saying that you have registered your book with the U.S. Copyright Office, and it gives you added layers of protection should anything happen and someone try to, take your work and use it as their own. Then we have step 5. Now remember, we're still on print publishing. Step 5, we want you to promote. You can do a book launch, which can be anytime. It doesn't have to be the day your book shows up on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and all those other sites. It could be anytime. And you want to market it online with social media, with Hangouts like this one, with webinars and teleseminars and being interviewed on radio shows, and offline. Print is very important to market offline at live events, at the back of the room, at workshops. You can get business cards printed up, which is also a form of offline marketing, and bookmarks, things like that. So it's basically, for print, you want to market your book everywhere. You can't go wrong with where you market your book, so everywhere. So now let's dive into the steps to create an ebook. You're going to see a few similarities here. We got the write and edit, the cover design, programming and formatting instead of interior layout. This is if you're only doing it in ebook and not print format as well. Distribution, marketing, and promotion. How? How do you write and edit an ebook? Well, same thing. You start out with a crappy first draft, and then you read it, and you revise it, and you decide, do I want to send this to a professional editor or not? A lot of times with short ebooks, there might not be a need for a professional editor. Maybe the short lead generating ebook is fine. So again, know your goals. If your goal is credibility, you're not that great of a writer, or you're a decent writer but you just know that someone else could polish your work further, and you want to put your best foot forward and get high-end clients, then hire an editor. Are you using it just as a quick lead generation tool, a tips booklet, something to answer questions fast and just get it out there? Then do a couple of rounds of self-editing. That means yourself. Maybe have a friend look at it. And don't go with a professional editor. So know what your goals are. Embed links in your ebooks. This is very important. Links are a value add. Plus, they're another way to make money. In fact, you're going to see on the next screen, I actually started writing and publishing this Author's Quick Guide series. And one of the books is Author's Quick Guide to Make Money with Your 99-Cent Kindle book. And you can take affiliate links and put them in there. You can refer people to your own products. There's a lot of ways that you can make money with your ebook. So make sure you're embedding links in your ebook. And pictures. Yes, you can use pictures in ebooks. The size really doesn't matter as long as they're high quality images. You always want nice, big, clear pictures because Kindle compresses them. So you want them to be big and beautiful for when they show up on the screen. And they do enhance the content. Show examples, show screenshots. Whatever you're writing about, unless it's just fiction, of course, then pictures are great to add. Then step 2, cover design. Same as print. Same way you find a cover or a designer for print, you would find one for ebook. However, with ebooks, you only have to worry about the front cover. There's no spine. There's no back cover. You still need a description for Amazon, but you don't really need the full back cover with all the testimonials and all that stuff. No need there. So it's a little easier, especially in your cover designer. And no weirdness. And by weirdness, I mean this is still a book. You want it to look like a book. You want it to appear like a book on Amazon and for all intents and purposes feel like a book when people have it on their Kindles and have it look absolutely beautiful. That means you don't put copyright information on your front cover. That's just stupid. You don't put your website on your front cover because that just screams, hey, I'm just going to sell you something, so go buy my crap. No, people aren't going to buy books with the website on the cover if it's like big and prominent and woohoo. It's not a good marketing tool. You want to look professional, and looking professional means treating it like a regular, real book. So as you can see here, I've got the Author's Quick Guide series. This is 3 of the titles in the series. And each one is branded to the series. So the top and the bottom is the same. Each one has different colors on it. I'm experimenting, just whatever colors look good. And each one has a custom illustration that was drawn specially for me. My husband's actually a professional illustrator, so I had him draw these up for me. And all of them don't have any weirdness on them. They all are nice and clean. You see how small these are. If you make them down to about 1 inch wide on your screen, or if you look them up on Amazon, you'll see that you can still clearly read the title. And that's hugely important, especially for ebooks, because when people are skimming through Amazon, if they can't read your title, they're going to pass right on past it because they don't know what your book is about. Especially if the imagery makes no sense. If you pick a picture to put on the front cover or an illustration that doesn't make any sense with what the book is about. So you can see the Making Money with Your Kindle book actually has a Kindle there. The Finding Your Target Market has a little guy, and the book signing is a pen. That all makes sense. Now step 3 is programming and formatting. There's 2 different ways to format your interior of your ebook. There's meat grinders, as we call them in the industry. This is where you upload either a Microsoft Word document or a PDF, and it spits out a Kindle format. And Kindle format ends in MOBI, M-O-B-I. You can also get an EPUB format, EPUB, which is actually iPad and Nook and Sony Reader. So Kindle format is specifically MOBI. They have their own. Kinstant formatter is one of the better ones. It's a paid formatter. And Calibre is a free formatter. However, you have a few extra steps in getting rid of the junk code, because if you have any weird issues, you're going to find that there's junk code inside your ebook file, because basically an ebook file is a giant XHTML file. So it's a fancy high-end website. And if you don't know high-end website code, then this is going to be difficult for you to fix any weird formatting issues like spacing, etc., that might happen. That's what we come to the second option, which is a programmer. You can hire an ebook programmer who specializes in code. And the reason you'd want to do this is not just to make it look good, but because there's no industry standard yet. There's a lot of different types of hardware and software to read ebooks on, and every single one of them will display it differently no matter what you do. So to make it more likely that it's going to display nice and clean on these devices, then a hand coding programmer is essential. And let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. The left is a PDF through Meat Grinder. That's what it looks like. The middle is the same book, a Microsoft Word document through a different Meat Grinder. And the far right is a hand coding programmer. So I don't know about Eleanor, but I would choose the one on the right to read. It's so much easier to read. Yeah, I think that picture pretty much speaks for itself. And these are extreme. I mean, this is just an extreme example. The technology actually changes every day, and it's getting slightly better over time. However, you still end up with weirdness like this on your interior, depending on how much formatting you have. You can see that this particular book has bolds and italics. It's got these cool little call-out boxes with text in them, like tips and bullet points that are custom little squares. In order to make all that translate over, we needed to have a hand coder work on this book. So now step 4 for ebooks, distribution. You have 2 ways of dealing with distribution with ebooks. You can do just Amazon Direct to Kindle, so it's the Kindle Direct Publishing, KDP, and there's a couple benefits to that. With KDP, it's an exclusive for the first 90 days minimum. If you want to keep your book with these 2 options, then you have to continue that exclusive agreement. So every 90 days it automatically renews, and you can cancel it at any time, of course, if you want to move on and expand to other areas. But it's good for some things. I mean, it gets you into the lending library, which means Amazon Prime members can download a copy of your book for free, and you actually get paid for it. It's really cool because the lending library has a budget, and my 99-cent Kindle books get downloaded all the time through the library. I'm not really sure why people don't just spend the dollar, but a lot of them get borrowed, and I actually make more money when they borrow the book than if they bought the book. That's pretty cool. And those amounts actually change depending on how much is in their budget and how many people are borrowing books versus downloading them and purchasing them. And then you also have the KDP promotion days, where every 90 days you have 5 of those days that you can give your book away for free as a free Kindle promotion. So that's really cool too. Then if you have an audience that's primarily on iPad and prefers to download books from the iBook store, like college students, I mean, most college students seem to have iPads and really like just buying things through the iPad, in the iBook store, because it's just easier the way it's set up. Then you would want to use a service like BookBaby. That's the one that we choose, to work with, because they seem to be one of the best in the industry, and they will distribute your book, your ebook, to all these retailers. I mean, there's a dozen of them, including Amazon Kindle. So you can still get on the Kindle when you want to, because the Kindle still holds 67% of the buying market. So you definitely want to be there. But if your audience prefers to download from different resources and different retailers, then you want to have it in mass distribution. Then, of course, step number 5 is promote. Yay! You can have a launch for your ebook, same way you would do with a print book. You can schedule a virtual book tour, which is a lot of fun. You can send out announcements for your email list. You're pretty much limited to online promotion and online marketing strategies. So email, your blog, using social media, those are all great ways to get traffic to your ebooks. Now, I have a pen name for one of my book series, and for that particular series, I did make business cards, hard copy business cards, and that's because even though they're just ebooks, they're only on Kindle, I do a lot of offline networking with people about these topics, and so I can recommend these ebooks that I've written, even though I've written them under a pen name. Sometimes I tell them that, sometimes I don't. And I just say, hey, you would be interested in this, and I hand them the card, and it sends them to the website, and they can go buy the books. So you can still use a little bit of offline marketing with ebooks. For the most part, you're going to be using online marketing. Bottom line results with ebook versus print. Here's your goals again. If you want to do lead generation, especially if you're writing fiction, right now ebooks fiction is huge. I mean, Kindle sells, a couple of years ago, the statistic of 95% of all ebooks sold were fiction. And that's still almost as high today. I mean, I haven't found the exact specs. I'm still looking for, these statistics. Amazon doesn't like to release them to the public very often, so I'm not really sure what the statistics were for 2012. However, in 2011, 95% of all ebooks sold and all Kindle books sold were fiction. So keep that in mind. They also are great for a small genre. If you're writing a poetry or a memoir that's in a very small genre, then ebooks are awesome for that. And if you want really quick name recognition. So, for example, let me give you a story for this one real quick. The Author's Quick Guide series. This particular thing I'm doing right now for you, this training, came about in part because of the Author's Quick Guide series that I'm writing. I've had 3 interviews in the past week, all around that series. Talk about quick name recognition. Pumping out these Kindle books really fast will get you recognized fast, do something a little different. People want to interview you and find out how you're doing it, what you're doing, and it opens a lot of doors for your name to get recognized in new markets. Also, ebooks create passive income. Not only do they create passive income the way my little ebook will teach you, but they create passive income just as book sales themselves. You can go check the Amazon Kindle, KDP. You can log in and check your stats and your reports and see how many have downloaded in real time, which is really cool. The updates usually about every day. You'll see how many books have sold to date. Then you have print. If you want to go with print, typically your goals are more credibility. You want speaking gigs, so you want to grow your business beyond what you can do yourself. You want these doors to open that are shut to you even with just having ebooks out. If you're writing nonfiction, right now the ratio of ebooks to nonfiction sold with my books as well as a lot of other people's that I talk to are 1-to-1. People buy the ebook, they realize they want the print book, especially if it's a bigger print book or a bigger ebook and they want to reference it time and time again. Print is still easier for quick reference material and reference guides. And if you want a wider market, there's a lot of places that you can market and promote print books at and promote your name that you can't really do very easily with ebook format. So with all that in mind, here are your action steps. First, you need to define your goals. What are you going to use your book for? Then you want to choose. Do you want to do a print book, Kindle book, or both? A lot of times there's no reason why you shouldn't do both. Then, and people didn't get the memo that they're not supposed to call me, so hold on. I'm actually going to unplug my phone. Ha! Take that. There we go. Like we said, we're in real time, folks. So you want to if you want to you want to purchase your ISBNs under your own company name. And you want to set up your printer accounts, your ebook accounts, so that you can start getting your ball rolling. And above all else, I end with this, but I also could start with this. You want to start promoting now. Even if it's just to say, oh, I'm writing a book. Woohoo! That's great. Start promoting now. And the reason I say now for all of this, actually, for defining your goals, choosing print, ebook, etc., it's really important that you act on your dream. This picture was one of my clients. His name is Kinwa. And Kinwa was a cancer survivor in full remission, and suddenly his cancer came back with a vengeance. The doctors gave him less than 6 months to live. A couple of weeks later, he was in the hospital. And he was in there for tests, and they decided to admit him and keep him in there. His dying wish was to see a cover design, even if it was just preliminary, and his manuscript edited, because he didn't think he'd ever hold a finished copy in his hands. This manuscript he's holding in his hands is the final edited copy, and there was a cover design on it as well that was pretty much just preliminary, but we ended up running with it because time was of the essence. 12 hours after he held his dream in his hands, he passed away. He didn't last the 6 months that the doctor said he would. He held his dream and he was gone. So start now. Quit waiting around to make a difference with your message, to make a difference in your life and in the lives of others. And with that, here's how you can start now. This is if you want to start your own publishing company. You want the indie style of publishing because that's going to be best for your goals. And this particular program I put together is my business model in a box. You literally get exactly what I do for my clients. There's 27 instructional videos, 16 transcripts, blah, blah, blah. The bonuses, however, are where it's at. This is so fun. We have a Facebook accountability group where people are encouraging each other to stay, connected and focused to get your books done and published up on Kindle, in print, whichever, because it actually does both. This will teach you how to do both. And I personally am there to answer your questions. So it's kind of like getting some free email coaching from me, because that's a bonus. I don't charge for that. And I have an exclusive 12-part writing course that I'm getting ready to re-release, and you get that for free. It's called Finish the Book. So even if you're not done writing yet, that can help you finish your book. It's not the $6,000 that a lot of people pay me to do their books for them, because you can do a lot of it yourself. Actually, you can do everything yourself with this program. It's going to teach you how. It says only $9.97 on the website, and we're going to save 90% today because Eleanor asked me to give you a special deal. So with the coupon code PUBLISHMENOW, you can get this entire course and the bonuses. There's actually more bonuses because the slide is only so big. At Eleanor Loves, that's ELEANORLUVS.com/Kristen, KRISTEN. And Eleanor, do you have any questions for me?
I do. I was writing stuff down, so I have lots of questions. That's an
Yay!
amazing deal, and that is actually an amazing story, that you were able to help him reach his goal before, so he could actually hold it and see it in his hands.
Yeah, I tear up every time I bring that up.
Yeah, it is. It's an amazing story. Okay, so I'm looking at my notes, and I kind of wrote everywhere. The pretty URLs, that is really a great idea, because I really didn't think about that with resources, like with the book. You can tell them the resources using this, just the QR code and the pretty URL, like you said, and that could, if you're into affiliate marketing, which I love, that could take them off on a whole other shopping spree other than purchasing your book.
Exactly. And that shopping spree can give you money.
To go turn around and maybe, promote your book more, or write
Yep.
the next book or anything like that. I thought that was great. The other thing, too, that you mentioned about the Amazon, the lending program in Amazon Prime, I found that interesting, too, because the book that I have, I think it's been borrowed about 4 times, my book that I have published. And don't laugh, because it has nothing to do with my niche or topic. I just saw it, fell a topic, and I wrote it. It's called Baby Gender Reveal. It's about baby gender reveal parties. And so I noticed that it's like $1.25 I get every time somebody borrows the book.
Yeah,
And
isn't
so
that cool?
yeah. So you're saying that's based on the budget that is in the lending program at the moment, though, right? So it varies.
Right. Yeah, as more people take advantage of that, the budget either will increase or the amounts paid out will go down.
Cool. And then I noticed on your books that you said that, what are you charging on your ebooks, on those 3 where you had your husband illustrate for you on Amazon?
Funny you should ask that, because one of them that I did not show is called Author's Quick Guide to Pricing Your Book. So there actually is an entire book about that topic. I personally charge between 99 cents and $3.47 per copy. So depending on the length of the book, the quality of, not the quality of the writing, but the quality of the topic. So if it's got a wider audience, I'll charge a little bit more. If it's a really niche, I'll charge a little bit less, especially if it's shorter. The Pricing Your Book one is only 99 cents. The How to Make Money one is the most expensive one. That one is $3.47, because the return on the investment is so high. Because if people actually follow my advice, they'll see how I make $27, when someone buys one of my books.
Wow. So when somebody buys one of your books, you generate $27 from the time they buy it and read it and
Buy
consume.
it, read it, and buy the things that I recommend that are in it.
Nice. That's great. That would actually be a hangout for a whole other day. Okay, so then um, I noticed that you said that you don't always keep your books in the KDP. You might actually publish elsewhere.
Yeah, I
What is your
actually,
favorite, though?
the what's my favorite?
Yeah, what's your favorite to do? To stay in the KDP or to publish elsewhere?
Right now, it just depends on the type of book. So for a lot of my clients, the publish elsewhere is really good because they have a much more, they'll make a lot more sales and have a broader reach by having available more options. For the books that I'm doing right now, and pretty much all the books that I write, I like the Amazon Direct to Kindle because the promotions is great. You know, being able to use that and being in the library. However, I'm working my way up to actually writing a really big book. And that big book is going to be across all platforms because I feel like it needs to be available in, I mean, yes, every device can read a Kindle book. However, the apps are not very clean. You can't control how your ebook shows up on those apps. No matter how much coding you put into it, you cannot really control that. Um, and a lot of people are so trained, like especially with the iPad, of going to iTunes or the iBook store and clicking download just like people are in their Kindles with the Kindle store. So until iPad actually or Apple is opening up something brand spanking new. I mean, brand new, and I'm so excited. And it's a desktop program for reading iBooks. So they're actually expanding out just like Kindle did, where they're going to have different apps for different devices, where you can read iBooks books anywhere because they're realizing they need to compete, you know, in the marketplace. So yeah, for me personally, for the books I'm doing right now, Kindle's it. For the big book I'm working on, I go across all platforms, and for my clients, it just really depends on where their target audience hangs out.
Nice. That okay. So then, I'm bad. The notes are everywhere. So with the QR codes, just in the books, you said that QR codes are definitely, around, not going anywhere. Um, what other benefits just besides the pretty links you see with the QR codes?
I'm trying to get my screen back here so that I can actually see you because I want to show you something with QR codes. So,
Um, when you click on the screen share off to the left, it should bring you back. There you are.
oh, good, cool, I'm here. Okay, so repeat your question really quick while I look this up.
Oh, the QR codes. Besides the pretty links, what are the other benefits that you find from them?
Well, sometimes I do pretty links and sometimes I don't. So in this one, you can see there's no pretty links.
Uh-huh.
The pretty links are in the text. So in the previous chapter, I actually have whatever the pretty link is for AWeber in this one, which is blah, blah, blah.com, somebody else's domain name, because this is actually one of my authors. And what I found the benefits are to having the QR codes here is especially if people are sitting in airports and they're on their phones and they need to save battery, and they're like, oh, I can just snap this and save it. And they can bookmark it and come back to it later. And then, as you know, with any smartphone or especially the iPhone, when you're flipping through Safari and it's got all the windows up, it will be a reminder of, oh yeah, I meant to look at that. I saved it for a reason. So there's a huge benefit to having QR codes, I think. It just makes it a lot easier for people to access the information.
Cool. And then there was. Ah, I liked how your writing process, how you called it vomiting on paper. It was funny. When I was talking to Deborah, her whole thing was the formatting looks like it went through a food processor if it wasn't. So
That's
all
why
these,
we call it meat grinders,
yeah.
because that's what it looks like.
Right. Okay. So then, with Create Space, you said basically the only difference with Create Space and well, not really the only difference, but LSI is a higher quality of printing. But if you, that's what my question was. With CreateSpace on the ISBN numbers, do you have to still have a company name?
No. With CreateSpace, you can use one of theirs. I caution anyone from doing that with any publishing company, no matter who it is, because anytime your name is not the publisher of record for your book or the distributor of your book, then they hold the distribution rights to your book, and that makes it a little harder for you to get the book away from them.
Oh, okay.
So it's always,
So,
I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm a little bit more of a control freak than most authors. So, fiction, poetry, memoir, things that aren't going to necessarily be used for a business,
mhm.
it's not such a big deal. But for business owners, it becomes a big deal later.
I can see that where that would become. And then, oh, the light that went on was, I think my biggest takeaway was the printing. When you were talking about how she was paying them $7 for a book, but if she would have been directly going to the printer themselves, she would have been saving half that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, a lot of times people are like, oh, well, it's so expensive to do it right, with professional formatting and professional printing and professional design. And yeah, it is a little bit more of an upfront investment. And then the back end, you end up saving. I calculate for one client, if he had come directly to us, because we actually do this for people as well, the training course helps save you money, which is why I'm giving it to you guys. However, if people come to us and we set them up as their own publishing company, he would have been saving about $5,000 to $6,000 a year.
that's
It
like
would have more
a
than
used
paid for
car.
it.
It's a used car. That's like 2 trips.
Yeah, I'm like, really, all this money that you're giving away to this publisher, like, well, it's more convenient because they get it on Amazon. Oh, how many times I've heard that. It's one little button that gets you on Amazon.
Right.
One tiny little button.
Exactly.
And I tell
I
you where
have
to check that box.
I have the biggest fear of it, and I don't know what it was. I mean, this is how bad I was, because I knew Kindle books publishing, self-publishing was huge. I watched it for the past 2 years. I even took courses to, when I was trying to be a virtual assistant. I said that trying because that's the worst possible thing. But I even took courses to help promote and follow, create the website and how an author's blog is supposed to look and all that good stuff. But I was just petrified of the thought of ever having to help somebody get their book online. And then when I did my own, I was like, oh. But having the right person to walk you through it,
Yeah.
step by step, showing you how to do it, was great, because as I had somebody holding my hand doing it, then the fear of screwing something up or not looking professional or just not doing it right went away. And the minute the book went live on Amazon, I was so giddy. I was like a little kid. So,
I still get giddy. I'm
yeah,
halfway through uploading next week's Kindle book right now. Like, I had to take a break so we could do this call. And I'm like so close. I'm like,
almost there.
it's a
So
good one.
if you're watching us live right now, or if you're watching the replay during the event, this is a great, and you've not done anything with Kindle at all, this is amazing. This will walk you, Kristen's course, sorry, will walk you straight through all your steps, and it'll be like I said, that fear that I had of getting published will go away because you have somebody there, right there. And I cannot express how important and what a great bonus having the Facebook group is, because I have your blue box. But the reason I say that is because not only will you be in a community where you can ask her questions, but then you'll also have access to other people who are doing the same thing you're doing, trying to reach their goals. They'll be cheering you on. Once your book is published, that's a whole community that's going to rally around you and support you, whether it be on your free days or even on your sell days, and help you get your book out there and acknowledge. It's like you'll have your own promotional team if you think about it.
Oh, yeah.
Facebook groups are awesome for that. And just you'll have reached your goal. You see now just by watching our session just now, all the steps and everything. It's you can do this. So I did it. I'm excited. So you have to do
Yeah.
it too. So do you have anything else you'd like to add before I kind of end our session?
No, I think we're good. I hope everybody got some takeaways, and now my brain is officially fried.
Yeah, I got lots of takeaways. I love that you're a chocoholic. I'm a chocoholic, but I add the wine on top of it. So there's nothing like wine and chocolate together. But so yes, it was really great. I really appreciate that you joined us. And just so everybody remembers, this is my friendly reminder. Kristen will be available for 48 hours, and then her replay will go away. And so make sure that you watch her in the first 48 hours. But if you can't, because I understand everybody's schedules are different, and this is, over several days, we have 8 different speakers. So what you can do is we have an option to where you can purchase all the speakers' recordings, come back and rewatch their sessions, and pick up those wonderful little golden nuggets at your leisure. And then still go back and, definitely capture those amazing offers that they had. And Kristen definitely had tons. I mean, I didn't, first of all, the publishing nugget about the $3.50, using the pretty URLs. I use those all the time online for affiliate promotion, but I never really even thought about that for the book. And then even more so, putting the affiliate links in the book, or even your own products, like she said, that you're writing about. So that's why you want to definitely get all these recordings, because you don't want to miss any one of our fabulous speakers. All right, so this is Kristen and I saying goodbye to everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
All right.